Hello and welcome to a brand new challenge video. You guys seem to really enjoy the gift Pokemon videos and I really like making them too, so it only makes sense to keep doing them. Today we find out, can you beat Pokemon Yellow using only gift Pokemon? Anyone who's played Pokemon Yellow will know you get given a lot of Pokemon during your adventure. Starters, fossils, you name it. There's more gift Pokemon available in Yellow than any other Pokemon game, so I'm spoiled for choice here. Will this make the run easier than your typical challenge run? Well, yeah, but I'm sure this will still be an interesting challenge to take on. If you've seen my previous gift Pokemon videos, you'll know I've done this challenge on Fire Red, which shares a lot of the same gift Pokemon as Yellow. So, to add a bit more difficulty and variety, I won't be using any Pokemon from the Fire Red video in this one for my main team. I just wanted to take this moment to shout out a fellow challenge run YouTuber named The Breath. While I was recording for this video, he uploaded this very same challenge, so go and check his version of this run out after this video. He used a very different team to mine as well, so his link will be in the description. A couple of rules before we start. Only gift Pokemon are allowed to be used. No other Pokemon may be used for any reason, even HMs must be taught to gift Pokemon. No items used in battle. This includes healing items like potions and revives. Obviously this run would just be way too easy without this rule. Alright, with that all out the way, let's get started. I start the game and we have no choice but to pick a male character. I name him Koro. As always, comment down below if you get the reference. I name our rival MDB, after fellow challenge runner mah-dry-bread. I'm sure you already are, but please subscribe to him if you like these sorts of videos. He is the best in the business. We run into Professor Oak, who catches our starter for us, which in this case is Pikachu. This is our first gift Pokemon, and the only one we'll be getting for a little while. This Pikachu can't evolve, so we're actually stuck with it the whole game. We're challenged immediately by MDB and his Eevee. It's a pretty simple fight. We win with a few Thundershocks and begin our journey. We pick up the Professor's parcel for Professor Oak and deliver it back to him to get our Pokedex. There's an optional rival fight with MDB that I choose to take part in. He has a Spearow now which is weak to Thundershock, and his Eevee isn't much tougher, so we win pretty easily and make our way through Viridian Forest. On the other side is Pewter City, the home of the first gym. We have got a really tough fight ahead of us, so I train up a few levels in Viridian Forest until I learn the move Double Team. This will be essential if we want to win this fight. It's time to face the first gym leader, the Rock-type trainer Brock. He starts off with a Geodude. The only way we can hit it is by using Quick Attack, so I set up 6 Double Teams to max out my evasion and then lower his defense as much as possible with Tail Whip. Luckily we only get hit once or twice in all of this and we're able to take it out in just 3 quick attacks. Next up is his last Pokemon, Onix. It's much bulkier than Geodude, so it's going to be a lot tougher to deal with. I set up 6 more Tail Whips, lowering his defense as much as I can. He keeps using Bide, which can't hit us if we don't hit it back, so I just waste turns until I can hit again. We do get hit a couple of times, but we're able to survive and slowly whittle it down with Quick Attack, which eventually knocks it out. Believe it or not, this was actually my very first attempt at this fight too. On the way to Mount Moon, a man will try and sell you a Magikarp for 500 Pokédollars. As I said in the Fire Red run, it is not a gift if you have to pay for it. And going by Cerebi, Magikarp isn't a gift Pokemon, so I won't be using it in this run. We travel through Mount Moon. On the way, we're given the choice of 2 fossils, the Dome Fossil and the Helix Fossil. Remember, at the start of this video I said I wouldn't be using any Pokemon from my Fire Red run, and that includes Lord Helix himself. So, forgive me for the terrible sin I'm about to commit, but I must pick the Dome Fossil. I'm so sorry. It's fine, Kabutops is cool too. We arrive in Cerulean City, the home of the second gym leader, Misty. This was a pretty easy fight. First up is Staryu, so I set up a double team with Pikachu and then proceed to take it out in a couple of Thundershocks without taking damage. Misty's second and final Pokemon is Starmie, who's a lot bulkier than Staryu. I outspeed and hit with a Thundershock, which deals about a quarter of its health. Starmie's Water Gun misses twice in a row and we hit another Thundershock, and this time we get a Paralysis. Another Thundershock brings it to red health as we get hit with a Bubble Beam. It does over half, but we're able to take the victory with one more Thundershock. Before fighting our rival, we're actually able to get a new gift Pokemon, Bulbasaur. I picked Bulbasaur as my starter in the Fire Red video, so I won't be using it for this team. But I will keep it around for now, and I'll use it for the HM cut as and when I need it. We travel north to the Nugget Bridge and get challenged by our rival. He starts off with Spearow, so I lead with Pikachu and one-hit KO with the Thundershock. Next is Sandshrew, who's immune to electric, so I swap into Bulbasaur just to get a Leech Seed on it. We go down shortly after, so I swap back into Pikachu and lower his defense with a couple of tail whips. A few quick attacks is all it takes to finish it off, but he does land a couple of sound attacks, which lowers our accuracy. Next up is Rattata. We miss a whole bunch of Thunder Shocks and take quite a lot of damage, but we're able to knock it out eventually. MDB's last Pokemon is Eevee. He lowers our accuracy even more and hits a tackle for decent damage, but 2 Thunder Shocks are enough to take the win thanks to a lucky crit. At the top of Nugget Bridge, we talk to this guy here, who gives us our next gift Pokemon, Charmander. Maybe now I'll be unbeatable, just like Champion Leon. Did you know he's the undefeated champ? We talk to Bill, who gives us the SS ticket, and make our way to Vermilion City, the home of the 3rd gym leader. On the way, Pikachu learns Thunderbolt and Charmander evolves into Charmeleon. We board the SS Anne and face MDB once again. His team is very similar to last time and we only just beat him, so I'll spare you this one. We talk to the captain who gives us the HM for cut. I teach it to Bulbasaur so I can access the gym, where we can face Lieutenant Surge. He only has one Pokemon, a level 28 Raichu. I send out Charmeleon and go for Dig as he uses an X speed. Dig hits for super effective damage and deals about 50%. Raichu hits back with a powerful Thunderbolt. We live with a sliver of health and go for another Dig. We get a critical hit, but I don't think it really mattered. It takes out Raichu, winning us the 3rd gym badge. Now we have 3 badges, we can get our next gift Pokemon. We talk to the police officer here, who gives us a Squirtle. Blastoise is one of my favourite starter Pokemon, so I'm looking forward to using it on the team. We travel through Rock Tunnel. On the way, Squirtle evolves into Wartortle. We arrive in Lavender Town and pay a visit to the Pokemon Tower, where we find our rival, who challenges us to a battle. He leads off with Fearow, so I send out Pikachu. I outspeed and hit with a super effective Thunderbolt, which is enough to one-hit KO. Next up is Shellder, so I stay in and destroy it with a Thunderbolt. Next up is Vulpix, so I switch into Wartortle and go for a Water Gun. It does over half, but Vulpix just wastes a turn using Tail Whip, so one more is enough to finish it off. MDB's last Pokemon is Eevee, so I swap into Charmeleon and take it out with just 2 Digs and 1 Ember. We beat our rival and move on to Celadon City, where not only can we face the 4th gym, but we can also obtain our next gift Pokemon. If we travel to the top of this building, we can find an Eevee. I used a Jolteon in my Fire Red video, and a Vaporeon in my Crystal video, so you guessed it, we're choosing Flareon this time. I buy a Firestone and use it on Eevee to evolve it. It won't learn any fire moves for a while, but it's got really good attacking stats, so it should still be useful. If you go to the top of the department store and give 3 drinks to the little girl here, she gives you the TMs for Ice Beam, Rock Slide and Tri Attack. These should definitely come in useful. I teach Ice Beam to Wartortle and challenge the 4th gym leader, Grass type leader Erica. She leads with Tangela, so I start with Charmeleon. I outspeed and hit with a super effective Ember, but it doesn't do that much damage due to special attack and special defense sharing a stat. She only ever goes for Constrict though for some reason, so we take it out without taking much damage at all. Next up is Weepinbell. I hit first and get a critical hit Ember, which deals about 50%. Weepinbell hits back with an acid and gets a crit of her own, doing massive damage to us. We get another critical hit Ember, which leaves Weepinbell on a sliver of health. But she does use a super potion to heal back a lot of her health. We hit one more Ember before fainting to another critical hit acid. I send out Wartortle and finish it off with an Ice Beam. Erica's last Pokemon is Gloom. I stay in and hit another Ice Beam, which does a good amount of damage as we get hit with the Petal Dance. We survive with just 3 HP and hit back with another Ice Beam, which brings Gloom down to red health. We get finished off by one more Petal Dance though, so I swap into Pikachu. I go for Thunderbolt thinking it'd surely be enough, but Gloom survives with what must be 1 HP. We take the 3rd hit of Petal Dance though and finish it off with one more Thunderbolt, winning us the 4th badge. We take on Team Rocket under the game corner. On our way we find the TM for Double Edge. This is a 120 base power normal move, so I teach it to Flareon to take advantage of its high attack stat. We face off against Giovanni, but he's no trouble whatsoever. His Onix and Rhyhorn faint to Wartortle's Bubble Beam, and Pikachu beats Persian in a one-on-one. We get the Silph Scope and scale the Pokemon Tower. We save Mr. Fuji, who gives us the Pokeflute, so we can now finally travel to Fuchsia City. Before that though, it's time to get a new team member. We travel to Saffron City and beat the trainers in the fighting dojo. After we beat the dojo master, he gives us the choice of one of 2 Pokemon, Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan. Again, I used Hitmonchan in my Fire Red video, so this time I'll be choosing Hitmonlee. He's personally my favourite of the 2 anyway. We finally arrive in Fuchsia City and pay a visit to the Safari Zone, where we get the gold teeth and the HM for Surf. I teach it to War Turtle and give the gold teeth to the Warden in exchange for Strength, who I teach to Hitmonlee. With all that done, it's time to face the 5th gym leader, Koga. While fighting the gym, Charmeleon evolves into Charizard, and I teach it the move Fly. Finally, we're going to be unbeatable, just like Champion Leon. Did you know that he's undefeated? His team consists of 3 Venonat and a Venomoth. I managed to beat the 3 Venonat relatively easily with a mixture of Fly and Ember, so the Venomoth is out next. We miss a couple of times thanks to him using Double Team, but 2 Flies is enough to knock it out, earning us the 5th badge. We could go and take down Team Rocket, but there's something I want to do first. We surf from Pallet Town and arrive at Cinnabar Island. There we can obtain our final team member. We go to the lab and get the Dome Fossil revived into a Kabuto. Again, I am so sorry for betraying you, Lord Helix. Kabuto is pretty weak right now, but I think when it evolves, it will be a great addition to the team. We infiltrate Team Rocket once again, and as always, it's pretty easy. What isn't so easy though is the battle with our rival. He starts off with Sandslash, so I lead off with our new addition Kabuto. We get hit with the Swift for small damage and hit back with a Surf for about half. Sandslash's Sand attack fails and we hit another Surf, leaving it on red health. We take a critical hit Slash and finish off Sandslash with one more Surf. Next up is Ninetales. I stay in as his Roar fails. We hit a Surf and get a critical hit. Ninetales fails to attack 2 more times, so Kabuto finishes it off with 2 more Surfs. Next up is Cloyster. I could just switch into Pikachu, but I want to try one of our new members, Hitmonlee. I outspeed and hit with a double kick and we get a critical hit. Thanks to the Gen 1 mechanics, the second one is also a crit which deals huge damage to Cloyster. He hits back with a powerful Aurora Beam, but we're able to take the hit and feint Cloyster with one more double kick. Next up is Kadabra, so I swap into Flareon. Kadabra goes for the big brain strats and uses Recover at full health.
Not epic.
We hit with a double edge, which is enough to feint Kadabra from full health, especially considering we get another critical hit. Last up is his starter Jolteon. I stay in and take a Sand attack. We don't miss the double edge though, and it does about half. Jolteon goes for a Thunder Shock this turn, but we take the hit easily and end the fight with one more double edge. We can get the gift Pokemon Lapras here, but as stated before, I won't be using it on my team this time. Giovanni's just as easy as last time, so we beat him easily and take back Silphco. We can now face the 6th gym leader, Sabrina. She leads with an Abra whose only move is Flash, so I slowly ship it down with Kabuto Surf for some easy experience. Next up is Kadabra. I swap into Flareon and take a Psychic, which does a lot of damage to us. We hit back with a double edge though, which deals a lot of damage in return. We get hit by recoil damage, but we just survive with 2 HP. I go for the priority quick attack, but Kadabra hangs on with a sliver of health, but she decides to use Kinesis, which ends up failing, so one more quick attack finishes it off. Sabrina's last Pokemon is Alakazam, so we swap into Charizard. We get hit by a weak Psywave as we strike with a critical hit Slash. It's worth noting that due to Gen 1's mechanics, Slash is pretty much a guaranteed critical hit. Sabrina decides to use an X Defend, but that doesn't make a difference as critical hits bypass stat changes. Slash crits again and leaves Alakazam on what must be 1 HP. She uses Recover and another Slash brings it down to a sliver. We're hit with another Psywave and finish off Alakazam with one more Slash, winning us the 6th badge. We travel back to Cinnabar Island and find the secret key in the Pokemon Mansion, and find the TM for Blizzard, who we teach to Kabuto. We take on the 7th gym, and while fighting the gym trainers, War Turtle evolves into Blastoise. We take on the leader Blaine. He leads off with a level 48 Ninetales, so I start with Kabuto, who's 4 times resistant to fire moves. We're able to deal a decent amount of damage with Surf, but we get confused and taken out relatively quickly, so I swap into Flareon, and a couple of double edges is all we need to take it out. Next up is Rapidash, so I decide to stay in. Our double edge doesn't do too much damage thanks to him using Growl, so I go for Sand attack and land a lucky crit double edge before being taken out. I want to save Blastoise for his last Pokemon, so I swap into Hitmonlee. We just survive a takedown and finish off Rapidash with the double kick. It's down to his last Pokemon, a level 54 Arcanine. It's almost 20 levels higher than our Pokemon, so even with the type advantage, I'm scared of this thing. We get outsped and hit with a Fire Blast for a lot of damage thanks to him getting a critical hit. We retaliate with a Surf, which does just under half. Arcanine goes for takedown, but luckily he misses, so we get another Surf in, taking it down to red health. I try and finish it off with one more surf, but we faint to a flamethrower, so I send out Charizard. Arcanine goes for Reflect, but it's not enough to save him from a critical hit slash, so he goes down, winning us the badge. That was surprisingly tough considering that we have 2 water types. We can now challenge the final gym leader, and it's none other than Giovanni. Just before we face him, our Kabuto evolves into Kabutops, and we now have a fully evolved team. Giovanni's actually pretty tough this time, and thanks to the massive level difference, we actually end up losing. I train everyone up a couple of levels and try again. We're still very much under leveled, but things go a lot better this time. He leads off with a Dugtrio, so I start with Blastoise. For some reason he starts off by using a guard special, so we go for Surf and one hit KO. Next up is Persian, so I decide to swap into Hitmonlee. Once again Giovanni decides to use a guard special, so I hit with a super effective double kick which deals really good damage. We get outsped the next turn though and go down to 1 critical hit slash. I swap in Flareon and tried to finish it off with a quick attack, but he just barely survives and hits back 5 times with Fury Swipes. We manage to hang on though, and 1 more quick attack seals the deal. Next up is Nidoqueen, so I swap Blastoise back in. I outspeed it and Surf does a hefty chunk of damage. He goes for Thunder, but thankfully it misses. That would have done a lot of damage. 1 more Surf is enough to take it out, and next up is Nidoking. We get outsped and hit by a super effective Thunder, but we just survive on red health. Surf hits for a good amount of damage once again. We're going to get outsped and KO'd this turn, but I go for Surf anyway, and he uses a guard special again. Giovanni, what are you doing? We take out Nidoking with 1 more Surf, and Giovanni's last Pokemon is a Rhydon. I swap into Kabutops and outspeed it, and 1 Surf is enough to KO. We win the final gym badge, but only because of Gen 1 AI. We've collected all 8 badges, but before we can face the Elite Four, we have to face our rival once again. He leads with Sandslash, so I send out Blastoise. I outspeed and hit with a Surf for an easy knockout. Next up is Execute, so I swap into Flareon and hit with a Fire Blast, which I learned recently via TM, and it's actually enough to KO. Next up is Ninetales, so I swap into Kabutops. We get hit with a weak quick attack and then proceed to 1 hit KO thanks to a critical hit Surf. Cloyster's out next, so I swap into Pikachu. I go for Thunderbolt and get another critical hit, which is enough to one-shot Cloyster. MBD sends out Kadabra next, so I swap back into Flareon. As is tradition, he makes the 10,000 IQ play of using Recover at full health, so I go for the double edge and quick attack combo for the knockout. His last Pokemon is Jolteon, so I stay in. We get hit with a Thunder, which we just barely survive, but our Fire Blast misses. I go for it again, thinking we'll just faint anyway, but he decides to use Thunder Wave, so we don't get fully paralysed and don't miss. Fire Blast does a good amount of damage as well. I go for Quick Attack just to get a little bit more damage in before we faint, but he decides to go for Agility this turn. I test the AI Stupidity and go for a Double Edge this turn, and sure enough, he goes for another Agility. Double Edge is enough to take out Jolteon, winning us the fight. We travel through Victory Road and arrive at the Pokemon League. I know my levels aren't going to be high enough to beat the league just yet, so I do a little bit of training, just enough to get everyone to roughly their mid-40s. First up is Ice-type user Lorelei. She starts with Dugong, so I send out Pikachu. Thunderbolt does less than half and her takedown hurts. I try and secure the knockout with a Thunder, but she just barely hangs on and fully heals herself with a Rest. It's not too big of a deal though, as we're able to take it out with 2 Thunderbolts and a Quick Attack before she can wake up and attack. Next up is Cloyster, who faints to 1 critical hit Thunderbolt, and Slowbro is out next. Thunder hits hard, doing more than half, as she boosts her defense using Withdrawal. Obviously Thunder is a special move though, so 1 more takes it out. Next up is her Jinx, so I swap into Charizard. Flamethrower deals big damage, but she survives and hits back with an Ice Punch, which is actually super effective against Charizard in Gen 1. We hang on though, and 1 more is enough to feint Jinx. Lorelei's final Pokemon is Lapras, so I swap back into Pikachu once again. I hit a Thunder, but it does less than half and we get confused by Confuse Ray. I go for Thunderbolt this turn, and not only do we not hit ourselves, but we get a critical hit too, which leaves Lapras on very low health. Lapras finishes Pikachu off though with a Body Slam, so I send out Hitmonlee and clean up with a double kick, winning us the first battle of the Elite Four. Next up is Fighting type specialist Bruno. He leads with an Onix, so I send out Blastoise and 1 hit KO with a Surf. Next out is Hitmonchan, so I send out Charizard and hit with a super effective Fly as he sets up a double team. Fly hits for good damage as we get hit with a weak Ice Punch. I go for Flamethrower this turn but we miss and get hit by an even weaker Fire Punch. We hit this time though and feint Hitmonchan with a Flamethrower. Next up is Hitmonlee, so I stay in and hit with a Fly, which almost takes it out in one hit. Bruno decides to use an X defend for some reason, so we finish it off with a Slash. Next up is another Onix, so I swap back into Blastoise and one hit KO with a Bubble Beam. Bruno's final Pokemon is Machamp, so I swap back into Charizard again. Fly hits hard, doing about 50% as he misses a submission. I go for one more but it's not quite enough and we get hit with a Strength for good damage. We finish it off with a Flamethrower though, which wins us the battle. Next up is Ghost type user Agatha. First out is Gengar. I start with Charizard and go for a dig, but he sets up a substitute and then swaps into Golbat who's immune to ground. What's this? The AI actually being smart for once? I swap into Pikachu as she fails to hit a Supersonic and hit a Thunderbolt for over half of its health. It does poison us with Toxic, but we're able to take out Golbat next turn with one more Thunderbolt. The Gengar is back out again, so I swap into Charizard. We get confused and paralysed, but eventually we're able to take it out with a couple of Flamethrowers and a Fly. Next out is Haunter, so I decide to stay in. We get hit by a couple of licks, but we're able to take out Haunter in one hit with Dig thanks to a critical hit. Next up is Arbok, so I swap into Hitmonlee. All it ever does is spam Screech and use Super Potions, so we're able to eventually knock it out with a few strengths. Agatha's final Pokemon is another Gengar, so I decide to go back into Charizard again. We're hit with a Psychic and barely survive and then get fully paralysed. But once again the Gen 1 AI kicks in and she tries twice to go for Dream Eater on a Pokemon that isn't sleeping. We're able to hit a super effective dig before we're taken out with one more Psychic. I send out Blastoise and despite her spamming Confuse Ray and Super Potions, we're able to knock it out eventually in a few Surfs. We beat Agatha and move on to the final member of the Elite Four, the Dragon Master Lance. He starts off with a Gyarados, so I send out Pikachu. We outspeed and hit with a Thunderbolt for really good damage. We're hit with a Dragon Rage which only ever deals 40 damage, so we take the hit easily and finish it off with one more Thunderbolt. Next up is a Dragonair, so I swap into Blastoise and hit with an Ice Beam. However, it's not enough to one hit KO and we get hit with a super effective Thunderbolt. We live the hit though and finish off the Dragonair with another Ice Beam. Next up is his second Dragonair. This one doesn't have Thunderbolt though, so we take it out easily with two Ice Beams without taking much damage. Next up is his Aerodactyl. I swap back into Pikachu but we get absolutely destroyed by a critical hit Hyper Beam. I swap Blastoise back in and take a Wing Attack before hitting a powerful Surf, which prompts Lance to use a Hyper Potion. We hit another Surf but we're taken out before we can finish it off, so I send out Charizard. His Wing Attack doesn't do much damage and we take it out with the Flamethrower. It's down to Lance's final and most powerful Pokemon, his level 62 Dragonite. I send out Kabutops and Dragonite goes for Thunder but misses. We hit a 4-time super effective Blizzard which does a lot of damage, bringing it down to about half. Dragonite doesn't miss the Thunder this turn though and it feints us from full health. I send out Flareon. We're hit with a powerful Blizzard but we take the hit and go for a Double Edge which doesn't really do that much. I go for Quick Attack to get a little bit more damage in before feinting to one more Blizzard. I swap into Charizard and hit a Slash which is enough to take it out. We beat Lance but there's one more challenge standing in our way before we can say we've become the champion. We have to face mah-dry-bread in battle one more time. Let's do this. He starts off with his Sand Slash. I lead with Blastoise and hit a super effective Surf. It's not enough to one-shot though and we get hit with a critical Slash. One more Surf knocks it out and next up is Alakazam. I send out Flareon to try and get some good damage in with Double Edge but we end up getting taken out in one hit thanks to a critical hit Psychic. I send out Kabutops who gets his accuracy lowered by Kinesis but we still manage to hit a Slash for about half of its health. We get taken out the next turn though by another Psychic. I swap into Charizard and take a Psychic before finally taking out the Alakazam with one more Slash. Next out is Exeggutor, so I stay in and hit with a Flamethrower but it really doesn't do as much as I was expecting and we get hit with a Stomp, leaving us on red health. I go for Fly this time though, which does a little bit more damage before fainting to a barrage. I send out Blastoise next and try to KO with an Ice Beam, but he lives with a tiny amount of HP and hits us with a Leech Seed. That's not really a big deal though, as we take it out next turn and swap into Pikachu as he sends out Cloyster. One Thunderbolt does about half and we almost get taken out by a Spike Cannon of all things. We're able to outspeed though, so one more Thunderbolt is enough to knock it out. Next up is Ninetales, so I swap back into Blastoise. He just wastes turns using Tail Whip, so 2 Surfs are all it takes. It's down to his final Pokemon, Jolteon. I send out Hitmonlee and go for Double Kick. We get paralysed with a Thunder Wave and Double Kick does a decent amount of damage. We get hit with a Quick Attack for small damage as I go for another Double Kick. I'm not sure if one more Double Kick will be enough, so I go for Jump Kick this time. We live another Quick Attack despite it being a critical hit and go for Jump Kick, which is enough to knock it out. We beat MDB and beat Pokemon Yellow using only gift Pokemon. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know this wasn't exactly the most difficult challenge out there, but I still had a great time making it. If you guys want more gift Pokemon videos, then make sure to leave a comment down below, and subscribe so you don't miss out on my future videos. Do you have a suggestion for a video? Let me know in the comments below. If I pick your idea, I'll give you a shout out. Please consider leaving a like if you enjoyed this video. Feel free to follow me on Twitter and join my Discord, the links for both of these will be in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. Until next time.